We are back again. A truly wondrous good evening to you, and thank you so much for having kept the rendezvous. Thank you very much for choosing My Media Prime and for choosing us for your sports package. My name is Bishop Rene, sir, welcoming you to yet another edition of your favorite sports magazine program on the most watched television in Western Central Africa. We're talking about My Media Prime, and it's an honor for us to have you this evening as one of our televiewers joining us this evening. We have a lot on the vitrine for the program today. We shall be looking at football in the Southwest region as it takes a business phase. Also, in today's edition of the program, we take a brief look at the National Elite One Championship in Cameroon with some of the great results that are already making lots of waves across the national territory, but also for some, it's not as pleasant as it was at the top of the league. Also, we shall be talking about football across the African continent as WYDAD of Casablanca took upon their old-time rivals all the way from Egypt. And guess what? We shall be looking at all that which made news and, of course, entertainment as far as all of that is concerned. For today's edition of the program, we have, of course, as a consultant for the program this evening, no one else but Jemea, sports writer for My Soccer 24. He joins us body and soul in today's edition of the show. We thank you very much for having taken the journey from the Southwest region. You're joining us here today. Good evening, sir, and you're welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Rene. Good evening to Lores Kide. Good evening to the televiewers out there.
Yes, that's the big surprise we have for you this evening, televiewers. Lawrence Kede, publisher for My Soccer 24, joins us body and soul, but this time around on Skype. In today's edition of the program, he shall be providing profound and very in-depth analysis of some of the things that have made news in terms of sports in Cameroon. And many persons are asking questions: is the ship that controls and sails sports in the country in terms of football still a sail, or it is navigating slowly but surely towards a quagmire? It's a question that we shall be answering in today's edition of the program. But first, let's take a brief stop in the Southwest region and find out what exactly Jemea has in the basket of sports making events from the Southwest region, mindful of the fact that we are only 4 games to the end of the Southwest professional championship or football championship. And what exactly is happening? Catholic University Sports Association definitely making all the big news out there, and we cannot talk about the big news made by the Catholic University without talking about a certain Juma. 5 man of the match awards so far, 13 goals in his baskets already, and the guy is living the time, he's living the moment of his life. He's actually enjoying the sail. It's a beautiful moment for him. But what exactly happened today? Temstar were whitewashed 7 goals to nothing as part of results counting for match day 18 of the Southwest Regional Football Championship. And that already you can see. Match day 10, we have Ishosa that of course beat Treviso 5 goals to 1. We had Best Stars who also beat Littlefoot 8 goals to 2. Lifka were beaten at home by Victoria United in the Limbe Derby. Option SA beat Southwest United 4 goals to nothing. Future Star SA were also superior against University of Buea, who have found it very difficult in recent times to pick the results. Etoo Academy were humbled at home by the Lions of Ajax all the way from Likumba. Legend FA pulled on a 0-goal stalemate with Kumba City FC of Greek Mewanu. We also had Future Dreams that stumbled at home against Kemeni FC. That is for the Kumba fixtures, as well as Kumba Lakers once more were victorious against Nemfa of Nguti. Out there in Boya, Continental of Coach Eno George were humbled at home by Ajezwe of Moyoka 5 goals to nothing, while Prisons FC of Boya recorded a shock defeat against Njalakwan Sports Academy 2 goals to 1. And for Mount Cameroon FC, it's still a quagmire for them. It's still a turbulent time for them. They were beaten by Buea United. That is gradually picking steam, 4 goals to 2. For Istanbul and EMSA, 2 goals each. Catholic University 1 goal against Sinodef FA. And one of the biggest scorelines of the day, Tico United against Temstar 7 goals to nothing. It gets Jemea to the business end of the Southwest Football Academy. But the breaking news we have for the viewers out there is that Catholic University have already sealed their ticket 4. The mini interpools of the Southwest region. That's the breaking news we have for you. And they have 4 games to go. Remember, they are yet to record a defeat since the kickoff of the Regional League in the Southwest region. Jemea, this is outstanding. I mean, it's history, it's record-breaking. The first time we're seeing such as far as football in the Southwest region is concerned.
Well, I think normally they had to qualify the first team to the mini interpol, because if you look at their performance have been excellent. They've gone all the hard times, humiliating the favorites of the group. You know, before the start of the championship, no one marked Catholic University to be that team that could hold the staff of office as far as Pool C is concerned. Everybody knew of Sinodef and Option Sports Academy. But as time went on, we saw that the Catholic University boys gathered momentum and took the confidence into the games. And now they are 10 games unbeaten. They've harvested all 27 points available, and winning a team like Sinodef Football Academy 1-0, that's a crucial win. That takes them to the mini interpol, because if you look at mathematically, they are 10 points above Sinodef FC Oboya at the 3rd spot. And so the nearest challengers are 5 points behind them, who are young Option Sports Academy. And so if you look at it mathematically, you don't expect them to lose all 12 points at the end of the season, though it can happen. But still yet, they have qualified mathematically based on those bases, because if you look at the 3rd team, Sinodef FC Oboya, they have 17 points, while Catholic University have 27 points. So that's a 10-point difference, with just 2 points to reach the maximum 12 in the next 4 games. So I think the Catholic University boys, good news to them. They've actually played football. They've actually brought some new legs. Like I said, they have some players who have won Man of the Matches award, and Jemea, 6th Man of the Match award, is the hottest property in the Southwest region as it stands now, with some 13 goals in 10 games. And you have other players who have won Man of the Match awards for Catholic University, Albenje with 2, Oscar Esombi, who came from Boya United, with 1, and the host of other players. So the team looks thick in terms of their quality that they execute as far as the Green Turf is concerned, going against big teams, defeating the likes of Option Sport in the first round, defeating Sinodef Football Academy. They've just been moving on a dreamland of their own, and suddenly they find themselves 10 games unbeaten, and no one sees them losing any points in the next 4 games. They could lose points against, let's say, an Options coming up maybe sometime in their next game. But I think with the confidence that this team has, their investment, bringing in new legs into the team, it shows that they are actually prepared for business this time around. So I think they are actually the team to beat at the mini interpols. You know, this is the first phase of the championship, and the second round is getting to its business end. And like I said, and with 4 games to go, 12 points. 12 points for all the teams. As far as the final rounds are concerned, is up for grabs. Even those at the relegation zone, the University of Boya, they look somehow going down to the relegation zone, because if you look at the way they are, they lose to their nearest challengers, who are Future Soccer Stars Academy of Jean-Marcel Mumbu by 4 goals to 3, and so just 3 points in 27. In 10 matches, a sharp contrast of Catholic University, who are at the top of Pool C, who have won all 27, and University of Boya just 3 out of 27 available points. So it tells you of Pool C already taking shape as far as the final rounds are concerned, because if you look at it, only Option Sports and Sinodef could fancy a tough battle as far as second spot is concerned. Remember that only 2 teams qualified to the national interpols from each pool as far as the pool is concerned. So Pool C looks a little bit free, Catholic University, but the second spot looks somehow still tense between Sinodef Football Academy as well as the likes of Option Sports Academy, who are second.
All right, we of course caught up with the coach of Nsungkikang Sports Academy in the sidelines of their victory against Limbe Football Club Association, that is Lifka, of the former city mayor May his soul continue to rest in peace. And these were the reactions of Coach Tete of Nsungkikang Sports Academy. He spoke on the microphone of By Media Prime Television out there in the sidelines of their victory, 2-1 against Limbe Football Club Association. Let's listen when we come back. Our reactions.
What did you really tell them from the second half?
Yeah, from the second half, I only have to tell them to increase the intensity. We are an academy and our philosophy to develop a game, start from behind and pass to the midfield. But if you see the whole first half, you cannot play and can't shoot one ball to the goal or attack on target because we shot the first target. So it was really, really discouraging. And again, they were so timid. So I had to ask them to increase the intensity, play at 1-2 touches and play direct game and forward. And again, I think the changes that we did paid us positively because we saw the first two changes, one attacker and one midfielder. The guys who were very slow in the game, those guys who came brought a lot of intensity and movement in the game. And even the tech person that I brought the game in order to give us the second goal, I think it was really a plus for the changes when the substitute came in.
So you've never won in your last, I think, 6 encounters. You've recorded a series of draws. In fact, in your last 5 matches, you've been able to record just 3 draws and 1 defeat or so. This win, what impact does this win bring to you going into the way forward?
Yes, this victory today, I think is very significant. First thing is to boost the morale of my children, of our boys, because I noticed some psychological moral drop down. So we have to try to boost them. And I think the victory for itself will speak. But then you see the second goal, the winning goal, how happy they were, and even at the end of the match. So this win is taking us higher because today is a 10 day of play. I think out of 10 days we have lost just 1 match. The first match of the second round that we lost. But again we have had a series of draws. I think this is our 50th win and a series of draws. But with this victory today, we saw the first day of the second round a defeat. Second day we drew. I think today with a victory, I think it's bringing us back into winning ways. And I think then the qualification of the contest for the qualification to mini Etoo, I think is still very much alive because we have 4 matches to go, and this victory can boost us, as giving us that booster to face the last 4 matches with confidence. I think if we are going to win all the 4 matches, then we can sail through.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coach Tete doing the speaking to reporters in the sidelines of their comeback against Limbe Football Club or Limbe Football Association, LIFCA, out there 2-1, noting the fact that well, in their last 5 encounters, it's been 3 draws and 1 victory. They've recorded also some defeats along the line, and it doesn't look all rosy for Limbe, the side club that is Nsungkikang Sports Academy. Let's take Jemea there. We saw a comeback out there in the Southwest region. We saw a comeback out there at the Boyomne Sports Stadium, and it turns out, yes, it's actually the business end of the football championship in the Southwest region. The clubs are picking steam. Some are yet to pick their steam.
Yeah, we look at it, you understand that the group normally does Group A or Pool A. If it is a group where you find some fine teams playing good football, well organized teams, some of them like Bestas, Al Jazeera, and the likes of Etoo United, that is taking some rebranding as far as this season is concerned. So you understand that Nsungkikang Sports Academy normally they have been a team where they've had series of draws. They had a drop in confidence, and you couldn't see the Nsungkikang that you saw in the first 2 playing days of the championship, where they had to defeat Al Jazeera and Etoo United. But since then, Prisons of Boya held them to a 1-1 draw on March the 3rd. So since then, they went, I think, 4 straight draws before recording a win. And one of their heaviest defeats so far in the championship to Al Jazeera, a 3-0 defeat, which lowered their morale as far as confidence is concerned. And they had to bounce back against Prisons of Boya. Prisons of Boya, though they had the lead first through their talisman, Samuel Bolem, who scored a fine goal from close range. But gradually the Jalakwan Sports Academy side actually played possession football, putting Prisons of Boya on a tight corner as far as the game is concerned. Though the game ended, I think, 1-0 at halftime, but going into the second half,
we saw a different Jalakwan side.
It became a different ball game where, due to pressure, it had to lead to a penalty in favor of Jalakwan Sports Academy, which had to be converted by Kimbi Lewis of Jalakwan Sports Academy, despite the fact that Nzambala is out of the country. Their captain, their talisman, who was the man firing from all cylinders. I think he left with 4 goals before traveling, which is scored in the first 3 games of the championship. And so now you see that Kimbi Lewis is the one taking the mantle as far as goal scoring of the club is concerned. And Coach Tete really looks to be the nearest or the fourth, as far as the 4th team in classification as far as Pool A is concerned, with the likes of Etoo United, Al Jazeera and Bestas Academy occupying the top 3 spots respectively. Al Jazeera first, Bestas second, and Etoo United. But you look at Jalakwan Sports Academy, they might not qualify for the main post. They might just find themselves
we would definitely be coming to where they end possibly at the end of the season.
You can't take anything for Prisons of Boya as far as their performance.
We take a look at another club that is also making lots of waves. I think the opening day of the Southwest Regional Football Championship out there in Limbe, they were very impressive, though they were beaten 4-3. We're talking about Al Jazeera Football Academy of Moyoka and their coach Fossa Eric, after their mouth-watering victory against Continental, 5-0. That, of course, has raised lots of eyebrow as far as Continental is concerned. Had the following reactions to me. Coach Fossa Eric spoke to reporters out there in Buea. This was his reaction.
It was a good reaction. We needed to win this match. I'm happy with the guys and follow the instructions and all we here for us to do.
What next for the next encounter? What next for the next encounter?
Yeah, the next encounter is against Vesta, mistake. Yeah, I believe we are going to, as of now, we are preparing and determined to play the game. It's going to be a very difficult game. It's a game that we are going to attack the game. We need to win the game, and I believe we will be able to so that we will be made victorious.
What's the success what's the goal of this Al Jazeera squad? You see the players are highly motivated. What's the secret behind it?
We are very determined to play this season. We want to emerge as the champion, so that is the focus, and I believe that is where we are doing our determination and our desire.
Wish me the best.
Thank you.
Coach Fossa Eric of Al Jazeera Football Academy speaking to reporters there in the sidelines of their mouth-watering elephant victory against Continental, and that has evoked lots of questions about Continental. Hopefully, we shall be having images of that encounter roll as we talk about that encounter that has caused lots of questions about happenings at the level of Continental, and one has the impression that Coach Eno George might not still be in possession or in control of his dressing room.
Yeah, it shows the Continental team, which we saw, Al Jazeera, they are a newly promoted side. Ever since they lost to Jalakwan Sports Academy, they've gathered confidence. They've now total 23 points. I think 3 behind, 3 behind Bestas Academy of Limbe. So they are a team in confidence as far as Pool A is concerned. But when you look at the Continental, that's a team that we mark as a team that will give competition as far as Pool A is concerned. with their exploits, having gone a long run unbeaten before the start of the championship. So we expected the Continental to have that gragra nature which they are as far as playing the beautiful football which they usually play as far as the Buea municipality is concerned. But as the season progressed, they had a 5-0 win over Little Food on the opening day. We knew that they were out for business this time around, despite falling short to Bestas Academy last football season in the last playing day of the Southwest Interpost. So we knew, despite the fact that some of their key players had left, but the players who were still at the club still had some confidence because with a 5-0 win over Etoo Foot, we knew they were going for a competition against the big teams in the pool. But however, that started dwindling at the level of match day 2-3, where they had to fail short score, conceding 3 to Best Stars Academy, conceding 1 to Best Stars Academy and 3 to Tico United, and that disappointing win to Prisons of Buea at one point in time. So those flicks of defeats actually showed that Continental were not actually a team that you could actually hope on. I think it is all about the management of the team, letting players go without replacing them, like Tako and Tabe, who held their midfield, and Robert Bunka, who is now with Istanbul Football Academy. Those were some of their key players who actually made news alongside Nzive, who now plays for EMSA Sports Academy. So most of those they are players who actually played good football last football season. You can't really find them again in the team. Yes, they have the Eyon Kausin, Jefta, and the Tabe Augustine, but they still cannot live to expectation as far as their performance is concerned. So you expect the performance which they are. Can you imagine in their last 4 games, they've been able to gather just 2 points from those possible 12 points from their last 4 games, and considering 14 goals, which is not in the DNA of Continental Football Academy. The last time they were in this situation was in the first round of the 2018-19 season, when Coach Lazar at the time, who is now assistant to Coach Batamok at Cameroon Football, was the one managing the team at that time, and he had to make some magic for the team to qualify for the mid-interpost of that season. So if you look at the team is not having the players which you could expect them to go far as far as the mid-interpost is concerned. Reasons why they've averaged just 9 points from a possible 27, which is not a true reflection of the Continental we saw last season and last 2 seasons ago. And so I think that with rumor coming in to say the coach is trying to resign before he's been sacked, well, it shows of poor performance and the fact that the players are not living up to expectations as far as the team is concerned, and reasons why they find themselves where they are as far as the league standards are concerned. I think that the 6th position in Group A with 9 points, and they are just somewhere with the likes of Little Foot and Temsa. So I think Continental at this point in time, that's a team that we admire so much. But once you don't have the ambition, you can't go places. And so that is what is killing Continental. They had good players in the past years, but their ambition for the club is not a clear-cut one. You can't expect them to go to the mid-interpost or the national interpost, because the management doesn't warrant them to go places. Yes, they have a good brand of jerseys, they have a good brand of the way when they come to the field, but the management doesn't speak their ambition. Does not reflect
all the flamboyant colors that they get to display each time they come to the stadium. Take a Jemea there. We're going to be very snappy in terms of football at the regional level in Cameroon, as we take interest also in what is obtaining at the level of the national territory in terms of regional championships. We rapidly rush with you to the west region of the country, where the president of the West Regional Bureau of FECA Food was also suspended recently by a letter signed by the president of FECA Food. That brings lots of questions about football in the west region of the country. And just to also let you know that the regional championships are also ongoing in other regions of the country, like the northwest, also the south, and other areas. In subsequent editions of Prime Sports, we shall be bringing you up to speed with developments at that level as we build up to the regional, or better still, the mini interpols and possibly the national interpols. Ladies and gentlemen, tele viewers, for those who are just coming in, you've not missed a muscle. You're onto your reference point for national, why not international and foreign sports. This is my Media Prime Television, located out here in Cameroon's economic capital city of Douala, and at this point we take interest in the conditions laid down in a red carpet of terms to be met by FECA Food ahead of next football season in the country. And these terms were levied by club presidents in the country, who are asking for better work conditions, and also they are asking for a clear body a legal structure that governs club football in the country, and all of these must be met before the next football season in Cameroon kicks off. But also, when we go by Article 2 of the current status of FECAFOOT, one is giving the impression that all is seemingly not the best, because Etoo, in his reaction, notes the fact that it is not the sole prerogatives of FECAFOOT to create a legal body that runs football in the country. In fact, FECAFOOT is only accredited by the ministry in charge of sports, and if there must be any change in whatsoever at the level of FECAFOOT, they must obtain permission from the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education, as well as the Ministry of Territorial Administration. But we have a call by club presidents in the country. We also have with us this evening Mr. Lawrence, who is the publisher for My Soccer 24. He joins us via Skype this evening. Hopefully he's connected live. Sir, a truly wondrous good evening to you. Hopefully you're getting us 5-on-5. It's an honor to join you in today's edition of the program. You're welcome. We will definitely be re-establishing connections with Mr. Nkede Lawrence there. He is publisher for My Soccer 24, based out there in the country's political capital city of Yaoundé. Take a Jemea, there we have conditions rolled out in a red carpet of conditions levied by club presidents in the country. These conditions must be met before football kicks off next season in Cameroon. And the big question is, can Etoofis steer the ship of football, professional football in Cameroon?
Well, I think instead we are seeing the opposite, because I think at this point in time we should be hearing from the federation to come out with proposals and conditions to see that these club presidents follow in terms of having a club, because as a club you must be able to have you must have some certain criteria to meet up with the standards of the championship. So if the clubs are the one coming to give conditions to the federation, then I think it is like an irony, because I think it is supposed to be the league or the federation that has to come out with conditions to see how these club presidents are going to run their clubs, because like we've been saying in the past, these clubs should be run like public limited companies, where there are shares, like a company where people come in and invest good monies to the clubs. But now it starts with the federation, because normally the clubs, they have the right. That's why I say the federation now looks vulnerable in terms of their policies, because if you have a good policy as a federation, you must be able to stand your authority as far as organizing football in the country is concerned. So I think if the federation has football at heart at this point in time, they should organize a championship in such a way that this issue of subvention is what is making these club presidents to have powers.
Check it, Jemea. Recurrently, you believe, and you've re-employed the argument that subventions, should be cut off some of these presidents. We have impressions and indications that Mr. Nkede Lawrence gets us 5-on-5, and that connection has been re-established. Once more, good evening to you, sir, and thank you so much for accepting our invite to be with us in today's edition of Prime Sports. You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm online now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good evening. We had a couple of technical issues, but I think I'm back on line.
All right, very lovely to have you out there. You are publisher for My Soccer 24, one of the most prominent sports website, not only in Cameroon, but across the African continent. And would like to first thank you very much for accepting to be with us. Let's begin by talking about the conditions rolled out by club presidents ahead of football in Cameroon for the next season. And the big question is, with all the turbulence we have at the level of FECAFOOT, can Etoofis steer the ship of football, professional football in Cameroon?
Well, I think if you listen to the response of Etoo, what that letter from Pascal Abune, the president of the Association of Elite Club Presidents, Etoo says it's the prerogative of the federation to put in place organs in charge of organizing the professional league, and the federation too has the authority to dissolve these organs, and it is left on the federation to decide which organ they have to put in place, and they have taken in consideration the point of view of the federation, of the association of club presidents. But I think in this issue, everybody has its role to play. The club presidents, I think they have to better sit down and see how to better organize their clubs than talking about issues pertaining to the organization of the championship, because when we remember the creation of the LFPC some 12 years ago, club presidents were the ones running. The vice president at that time was president of the Union of Douala, and later on we had Postendom and many others who are these professional league bodies not come and point at the professional football in that poorly organized, because they are part and part of the organization, and present at what they call the transitional committee.
Yeah.
You find co-president, ACN president of John part of this transitional committee. So the presidents are always, even if things are going wrong, they are part and parcel of the show.
All right. Mr. Nkede Lawrence there, the lines hopefully would be re-established for us to have a more smooth transmission and exchange of ideas, actually, because the recent argument, actually, and that's causing lots of problems, is with the LFPC that has been suspended, and no communication, no information whatsoever is being uttered about the LFPC. We're also talking about the Technical Transitional Committee, and we're seeing a cacophony in terms of understanding between the Technical Transitional Committee and FECAFOOT itself. Now, it all causes, you know, a juxtaposition of binary opposites. While the president of WYDAD, chairman of the Technical Transitional Committee, thinks A, FECAFOOT thinks B. How do we find a line? How do we find that understanding, that fusion, that meeting point between, you know, the committee and FECAFOOT? We hopefully lost him there. Take a Jemea. Yeah, surely we lost him there. Let's look at this. And this is the confusion we have at the helm of football in Cameroon. LFPC thinks A, the league thinks B, the committee thinks D. Where do we place ourselves with football? What's the way forward?
Well, I think normally it is something that we have to really sit. Like we have always been saying, if you understand the cacophony that is going on within our football landscape, you understand that we expect a federation and a transitional committee to work together to complement each other, just like you have out there in the advanced leagues. And we are seeing that the clubs, normally the clubs want a betterment for themselves, but I think the clubs have a long way to go as far as we are getting themselves, because if the clubs are saying that the federation should do this, do that, whereas they themselves are also faulty in their actions and in their professionalism, I think they have to first of all look at themselves in the mirror and organize themselves properly, because if you look at our clubs, only a few of them will tell you have buses that could transport some of these players. You could cite PWD, Proton Sport of Garoua, Colombe, and a host of others. Just 5 clubs, if you can look at them, just 5 that could boast of a bus that could transport players into the on match days. And so with this, it tells you that if clubs can go for months without paying their players, then they themselves are not clean. So they themselves have to first of all arrange themselves before going to the federation and tell them that this is what we have as proposals. Then the federation will look at them as serious people. But now the federation who has should have been the one to come out with this these preconditions, because the federations is the one in charge of organizing football. Now, when you organize your league, you don't expect a club president to invest 500 million to come and win you 50 million. It doesn't go in a football in a business mindset. A business mindset is all about making profit and making surplus. So you don't expect to go in a business and you end up making a deficit. So I think that if a club should spend close to 100 million and come and win 50 million, then that's working on deficit. So I think at this point in time, the federation was to be the one to actually come out with these preconditions and say these are the criteria of you being a club president and of you owning a club, and this is how clubs have to operate, having a standing budget, having a running budget that enables the club to function. Those are things that the federation needs to be looking at, not the club president telling the federation what to do. Yes, the federation has the duty to provide these conditions which the club are initiating. But I think that the federation itself first needs to show the clubs that that good faith, that they are out to create a situation. Because if you look at the monies that have been given for subvention, if you sum up all those monies, you can sum up to something of billions of francs CFA.
We're talking about 37 billion francs.
Yeah, that's money.
Thereabouts, money that would be spent at the end, by the end of the football season in Cameroon. That's money.
If you look at the Premier League, City won, I think, 42 point. City won a certain amount of money, and it ended right up to the person who finished bottom, which was Norwich, who finished bottom and took something home, despite the fact that they were going to the relegation zone. So it tells you that the Premier League doesn't believe in subvention. They believe in how to you merit your monies at the end of the season. Though the Premier League has what they call the TV rights, where they give to the clubs for the start of the championship.
Is our football mindful of all the turbulence that the football in our country, professional football has witnessed all the years from, early 2000s, 1999, right up to date, with all what football in Cameroon has gone through? Can we confidently say that we are at that level where the clubs should stop receiving subventions and start surviving on their own?
Yeah,
are we at that level?
The clubs must understand that if you are not ready at this point in time, because if you look at way back memory lane, you understand that most leagues were going professional as the football world governing body was trying to initiate, and the government looked at it and gave clubs 5 years, which had to end, I think, in 2012 or 14 or 2013 or so. So at this point, we are at 2022. We expect clubs to have understood how football business works. That it's all about the business, it's not about politics. You don't create a football club to have political gains. You create a football club to make a name for yourself. You build an empire for yourself and a team for yourself by opening business shares.
This is an issue we have in Cameroon. With the subventions, club presidents have found it difficult to pay players. Without the subventions, we wonder what will become of players. Yet we expect a country that prides itself as, one of the best footballing countries, not only in Africa but the world, to perform on the international stage in terms of the CAF competitions generally. Now, without the subventions, or with the subventions, players don't get their salaries, they don't get paid, they don't get their primes. Would they be able to perform on the international scale and gain back for Cameroon the 2 or 3 places lost as a result of poor performances?
I don't blame the club presidents for not paying players, because you, the club presidents, first, you are paying the players. If you pay players 35,000 francs per player, I have 35 players, you are paid 35,000 francs. Out of the 35,000 francs, you have to do transportation, lodging, and all the rest for away games and so forth. And you sum up now, let's say roughly, you have close to about 200 million as a running budget for a season. Like, okay, take for instance, Colomb of Jan Lobo. They presented their budget, which was sum up to, I think, close to 130 million francs CFA. But should Colomb of Jan Lobo win the league, they'll earn 50 million. That's deficit. So you don't expect Colomb to pay their players at that point. So now I think that it is all about the level of the league or the federation to make it clear that subventions are over. If monies we are giving to clubs as subvention are way far bigger than what it's in the coffers of the championship. For instance, the subvention of 17 million, 11 million, those are roughly amount of 27 million francs CFA giving us subvention per club. If you can sum all those things, you give a subvention of all those amounts, it gives you billion francs CFA, which that's money that you should pump into the league and tell this club president, this is what you earn maybe as winning a championship, maybe 300 million. Those clubs will not hesitate to look for sponsors and pay their players so well by winning that 300 million. That is what FECAFOOT or the Traditional League Committee or the Football League has to be doing. But now, they sit back and watch the clubs tell them what to do, which is not what I think should be happening in a modern day football. You are the one setting your competition. You set the rules and you set the conditions for who participate as far as the championship is concerned.
During that time,
the Premier League is doing, because if you make it in such a way that the cup money is 400 million, it will attract more sponsors to come in.
During that time, we have players to cater for. We don't want to go back into the old history books. We saw what happened in the Southwest region only recently, where a player had a head injury and this player was supported with 500 francs CFA. We don't want to look at all of this and more. Now, yes, take away the subventions and set your rules and be the person to blow the whistle. The clubs and their presidents should dance to it. But at this point, should the organizing body pay the footballers? Should they pay the players?
No, it is not you, the organizing body, that is paying the players. It is you, the club. That's why they say the club has to run as a public limited company or so, where they are offered to shares and it runs as a business, where you do merchandising, you do some, you have an office, a well-structured office where you can go to the bank and take loans, invest in your club, and then win new trophies. But now you can't go to a bank, you can't be a structured club and you spend monies and you go and win 50 million. So it starts from the federation before going to the clubs. Now the federation now has to come in and say, okay, we are not going to give you subvention, but we are going to bring you sponsors that will sponsor our championship. And what is the prize money for whoever wins the league? 500 million. The second person gets home with, let's say, 350. Third person goes on until it comes down to the level of maybe the last person getting 5 million. That is what we need in our championship to make it more competitive. And that is the only thing that can attract sponsors. Once you set subventions out, you put in an attractive prize money. Clubs who you don't need to tell clubs that they should go and invest. Some of these clubs, by the time you put those criteria, clubs will merge. We saw for Nsungkikang, he was part of Union, but he had to split to form New Star Douala. So when you look at all these things, it tells you that if you try to tell these clubs that these are the conditions for you to become a club president, you see clubs merging. It doesn't stop us from creating, let's say, 2 clubs in the Littoral region, 2 clubs in the Northwest region, 2 clubs in the West region, make it 10 and play a competitive championship where the first person wins 500 million. It doesn't. It will make us. Look, Tunisia has just, I think, 16 teams. Morocco same. Who is Cameroon to have 25 teams in the championship? Where do we have monies to pay subvention? Are you splash money for subventions? Reasons why these clubs actually are babies every day begging for or telling the league body to give them subvention. If not, they are not going to the pitches. Whereas it's supposed to be the other way around, where these clubs, the federation sets in its laws and rules, telling the clubs that if you want to come to my competition, this is what you have to attain. You have to attain a certain budget. Let's say, for instance, the minimum budget for any club to be part of the Elite One Championship should be at least 500 million. I tell you, those clubs will merge. And if you don't want to play, you leave it. It's all about the professionalism and the face of the football landscape of the country that is at stake. So, should the federation make these preconditions, I think these clubs will not be the ones to tell the federation what to do. So, what the club presidents are doing is an irony to me, because I expected the federation to look at all this cacophony which the club presidents say we are not going to the pitches because subvention is not, should be the ones to react and tell them that subvention is over. If from next year, if you are not able to sustain your club, then you better dissolve your club and maybe align with those who have the capabilities to run clubs.
Football top on the agenda, and this of course is Prime Sports on My Media Prime Television. For those who are coming in, well, you're onto sports, and that's definitely what we have for you. And thankfully we have Mr. Nkede Lawrence who is with us, and yes, he's been following all the reactions there of Teke Jemea. And well, Teke Jemea thinks, well, Mr. Lawrence, your reactions. He thinks that subventions should be taken off and maybe more money invested in the end prize. What do you think?
Well, I think in the 80s, in the 70s, we were African champions in terms of at the level of clubs, but we never used subventions. It doesn't mean that subventions are not necessary, but we really have to reorganize our championship. A subvention is a plus, it's not the base. How can clubs sit down and wait for subventions in order to run their clubs? Subventions come to support what they already have. I think the problem at the base is that we went into professionalism with a degree sign on a paper. Professionalism is a process, and it's not because you qualify into Elite 2 or Elite 1 that you become professional club student. So we already have to redefine what is a professional club in Cameroon, so that if we have that definition and you are qualified to play in the professional championship, you meet the minimum requirements. I think in Cameroon, for example, if you don't have about 200 million or 300, it's not necessary to come in and say you are a professional club. So we have everything wrong from the setup of the professional league. And I think Etoo coming in and bringing a transitional committee is to move from amateurism to professionalism. But I think that will not just take a year, but it will take around 4 years. You know, when you look at the text, the initial text, the status of the LFSA, it states that for clubs to run a professional championship, they need to transform themselves from associations to companies. Because with companies, there is accountability, there is audit, whereas when the clubs are run as if we are selling granules at the market, the club president does whatever he wants with the money. He does whatever he wants with the subvention. But this rule has never been respected. That's transforming all the clubs into companies to have an accountability, a budget. It should function like a company. That is how professional clubs function. But unfortunately, at the level of Cameroon, people are used to squeezing things left and right and passing through the back doors. And that is why we find ourselves where we are today. You can imagine that in the first phase of the championship, Fecafoot took care of the lodging and feeding of players, and suddenly the club presidents want to touch money with their hands. They don't want it. They don't want it to pass directly to the players. It's really terrible. That's why at the level of the Guinness Super League, that's the women top 5 championship, you've never heard of unpaid salaries, because the main sponsors and Fecafoot, they pay the players directly without passing through the clubs. That is why you don't hear any noise at that level. So we really have to leave politics away from our football. And as that Pago, coach of WYDAD, generally says, Ndamba Nafofi. It is really time to really get back the pitch of play.
Ndamba, certainly not fulfilled. Powerful words there. Now, Mr. Lawrence Nkede, we have impressions that there are shadows, there are hands in the darkness that seemingly are controlling football in the country. Can we attempt to understand who these hands are, and if possibly we can, eject them from football in Cameroon?
Come again with the question, please.
We have impressions, Mr. Nkede Lawrence, that There are hands in the shadows, there are persons behind the scenes who are manipulating and they are seemingly controlling football in Cameroon to suit their personal interest and personal aggrandizement. I mean, can we make an attempt to understand who these persons are?
Yeah, I think for 2 decades, people have been eating from this mess. And it's very difficult to find people who can really sit down and talk football because people are living from this conflict and they are eating out of it. That is why even if Etoo came in and called everybody on the table and say, what should we do? Let us look in one direction and promote our football and develop our football. You still have people who say we are still going at the Court of Arbitration of Sports because the share they received wasn't enough for them. That is why we have this pending case. The other cases, Mabwan Kesak, for example, had withdrawn his case against Fekafut. Nkumvondo has withdrawn his case against Fekafut. But you have some other people whom they say, okay, the share given to them is too small, so they prefer go there and destroy everything so that everybody loses and they continue eating from the floor. Whereas if the food is developed, it's beneficial for everyone. We have very few people who notions of football, notions of football management, even at the club level. If you look at our AIHLY championship today, on the 25, you will find about 10 or 15 clubs which belong to individual sole proprietorship without any fan base. How do you develop a championship with practically almost half of the teams without a fan base? I mean, we have someone who is named to his club. Now it's the name of his station. So you can really imagine. We can't develop at this level because it's more of politics and of football on the pitch. There are so many people eating in this mess and who have been eating for 2 decades now, and the arrival of Etoo is not pleasant to so many people who really are eating behind the back door.
Right. And that takes us straight, without any transitional imperative, ladies and gentlemen, to our next talking point, which is about the standing case at the Court of Arbitration for Sports. And everyone had eyes tilted towards Swiss, as we expected. A very hefty hammer from that part of the world in connection with football in the country as far as the presidency of FECAFOOT is concerned. And we had hoped to hear something on May 31, but that was not the case. In fact, it was once more adjourned or postponed to the 30th of this current month, that is the month of June. And we understand that there are some persons who are still contesting the presidency of Samuel Eto'o's, and these persons dates as far back as 2009. And we would not be wrong to adopt the argument that the ancestors of Cameroonian football are not happy. They need appeasements. Take it, Jemea, what would appeasements comprise?
Well, I think it's just being greedy as far as our football administrators are concerned, because as football stakeholders, you must be able to look at your country's football first. Because if we talk today about Cameroon being on the landscape of world football or African football, it's all about how we, it's all about the talent that we got as far as our football is concerned. So how do you market these talents? It's all about developing your football and exposing these talents to the outside world. But now when you see people who sit despite consultation talks and issues of reconciliation, but people still turn around and go and betray the federation, putting the country's football in the mud, is something that we have to actually condemn, because should this issue come again one step forward and 2 steps behind, it's not something that we pray for as far as this CAS decision is concerned, because we thought with the coming of Etoo, having those consultation talks for reconciliation by the start of the year. We knew all these things were less sleeping dogs lie for football to win as far as the country is concerned. But as it stands now, we are still in a limbo as far as our football is concerned. So it is, like I said, it's not about the greedy nature of our football stakeholders or administrators. So it is just something that I will definitely condemn, because I will not want to get again in that, because it is over 10 years since our football, or more than 10 years since our football entered this mess, saying the 2009 General Assembly is the rightful people to organize elections, some violations of the text and so forth. I think it is high time, after we've gone a long way as far as this issue is concerned, removing 3 presidents in a role, Tombi Aroko, Mbumundria, now Samuel Etoo, issues. We are not serious in this country, because if we are planning to build a football structure, a football image, then it is not all about court cases. I think for once, Cameroonians have once enjoyed a taste of local football. For the start of this season, the first phase, we saw the stages, how they were being jam-packed, even the departmental leagues and the amateur championships. The Guinness Super League is also there, which is...
we get indications Etoo is also going as far as schools to sign, agreements with the Ministry of Secondary Education. Now, I want us to rapidly, mindful of the fact that we still have Mr. Lawrence Kedede live via Skype, connecting from Buea, I would like to find out from you, Mr. Lawrence, how close is FECAFOOT to another normalization committee? History has it, whenever we've seen such cases, it has always led to a normalization committee placed on FECAFOOT, and we are seeing history almost repeat itself. Are we safe to think that FECAFOOT is close to another normalization committee, Mr. Lawrence Kedede?
Well, I think we are still close to another normalization committee. It's rather unfortunate. I think we should look at the origin of the problem. The problem didn't start with Etoo. The problem was a couple of clubs that went to the Court of Arbitration of Sports against FECAFOOT run under Mbumundria concerning the electoral process, that the texts were not respected and those who organized the election were illegitimate. So the process went on. Etoo passed through that wrong process, let us call it a wrong process, or a protest that was a process that was contested, because even Mabwan Kesak, who is now with Etoo, equally contested the electoral process, and that the text wasn't respected. So Mabwan Kesak withdrew his case, but these other guys continued, and now Etoo being at the helm of a federation, if the Court of Arbitration of Sports says that the electoral process was not well done and has to be started all over, Etoo will have to step down. We move into a third normalization, and we go back to square one.
Now, Mr. Lawrence,
yes.
Sorry for intercepting you there. I mean, if presumably the 2009 General Assembly were to be appeased, what would appeasement comprise?
Well, the 2009 General Assembly were appeased. There was a meeting between Etoo and the 2009 members, but it's rather unfortunate that for the 2009 members General Assembly, some reconciled and others were not d'accord with what they had to receive in return. It's a matter of, this thing is a matter of eating. There are people who have very big eyes, very big stomachs, and who are never full, and who are always asking for more. And as you don't give them, they continue with the process at the level of the Court of Sports and Arbitration to bring you down. So that is where we are found exactly today.
All right, we'll be coming back to you. Take care, Jemea. Now we have this daunting task. We have this disturbing challenge. What's the way forward? I mean, we should start thinking of what could possibly be done to not only let the sleeping dogs lie, but the caravan to also fly peacefully.
Well, I think it is because I think it's all about greed. Because even if Etoo goes in again and calls these guys again to maybe talk to them and tell them of football first, some of them will still have the backbiting. So it is all about these guys understanding that they are playing with the future of our football for the past 12 years or so, and we've had enough as far as cases or verdicts are concerned. Going into a third normalization committee is something that I think they fought even because from Joseph Owona to Frank, I mean, Dodone Happy to Bomondoya, and now we don't know who next as far as who is going to head the normalization committee, because even FIFA herself was tired. That reasons why they had to say it was a caretaker committee by Mbondria to head a caretaker committee for 6 months, not going back to the normalization committee by bringing in barristers of law who are coming to field. Better bringing somebody who has a football mastery of administration. And reasons why Mbondria was maintained as the president of the FECAFOOT transitional committee. So all this. It is something that we need to learn our lessons. These guys who claim they know the law so well as far as football is concerned. When there have never been an election where you will not find irregularities. Elections always come and go. There will always be irregularities. Even in the highest democracy in terms of organizing elections, there have always been irregularities. So I think it's just all about bad faith and greed as far as some of these guys are concerned, because we've never seen an election in the world ever since the creation of democracy or people electing their leaders where there have been a 100% electoral process. There have never been. If there has ever been one, then I stand to be corrected. So it is all about the bad faith, but I think there is still a way forward. If those in power understands the way forward, then I think these guys should be called and be told that it's high time for us to let sleeping dogs lie and look at the way forward for Cameroon football, because it is going to be a shame for Cameroon football to be for the national football team to go into the World Cup with another normalization committee, which we saw in 2014 under the Professor Joseph Owona led commission, which is not something that we cry for. We want a legitimate body like the Etoo body, which has been legitimately elected to lead us to Qatar, and not people who will go and spoil things for us. Because when we start seeing a normalization committee, we will start seeing people who want to go and eat fat from players' bonuses, like what happened with Owona and Etoo with the issues of FECAFOOT in 2014, where Etoo refused to take the flag. These are things that we want to avoid, and so people are trying to bring back those old memories, which could be a disaster as far as our performance at the World Cup is concerned. So it's all about the present bureau maybe calling maybe another reconciliation, and I tell these guys to move forward and allow sleeping dogs lie.
All right, and we are a couple of minutes to the end of today's edition of the magazine program. But I mean, when it comes to football in Cameroon, and those who share the argument that if you claim to understand what is obtaining, then possibly you have to be understood as well. Well, let's take interest also in what is making use out of the Cameroonian context. And now football on the African continent, the largest, the biggest fixture took place on Monday when AIHLY of Egypt measured football strengths with WYDAD of Casablanca, and it was of course a repetition of the 2017 fixture when WYDAD of Casablanca came out victorious 2-0. But remember, it was a two-legged final in 2017 that saw WYDAD of Casablanca came out victorious. But before then, in 2002, hopefully, if my facts are still very correct, it was WYDAD against Zamalek, and they were were yet victorious against their Egyptian rivals, and guess what? It is one of the beautiful games we've watched in recent times as far as the CAF Champions League is concerned in Africa, producing mouth-watering goals as well as football. That reminds you, we are still in Africa. Take a Jemea, you watched that one there and enjoyed some of the beautiful goals. First, we understand that this was one of those games that came with a lot of controversies around it. Many persons contesting the venue and some other persons talking about some other things, but the game played and it played well.
Yeah, it had to be, and it shows African football still has a problem. But congratulations to WYDAD of Casablanca for winning their third CAF Champions League trophy. They won, I think, in 1992, 2017, and now in 2022. So you understand that they are a team. It tells you of how football is being managed in the North African region, or in the Maghreb, where you have the Morocco, Algeria, and Egypt leagues dominating football in Africa. For the past 10 years, they've been the ones actually picking the CAF competitions. I think only to Pesang Masembe, Mamelodi Sundowns, and the I think was Orlando Pirates also, who have come so close. I mean, yeah, who have won the competition south of the Sahara. And so you come to understand that the two teams normally, AIHLY had to actually oppose the venue of the finals. I think it is a problem of CAF, because you can't actually open a bid for the CAF Champions League final at the brink of the semi-finals. That is improper. I think it should be something that has equal opportunities from the first preliminary draws. You make the intentions known to the various cities that are eligible enough to apply for hosting rights in terms of hosting the finals, and you start that at the beginning of the season, so that you know that each club that is playing the CAF Champions League is heading towards maybe a city of Lagos, Yaoundé, Johannesburg, so that they know at the end of the season. But when you start doing what you call makeshift, and then you reach the semi-finals and start giving the venues for the CAF Champions League, and at the end Morocco, who is one of the countries hosting, sending a representative as far as the CAF Champions League is concerned, it calls for controversy. Reasons why AIHLY had to oppose. So it's at the level of CAF that decision has to be amended. But take nothing away from WYDAD of Casablanca. They played good football on that day, scoring 2 goals against AIHLY. Remember the last time they won in 2017 was against AIHLY. So AIHLY missed their chance of winning 3 consecutive CAF Champions League crowns under head coach Peso Musimani, despite the fact that he's a household name in African football in terms of coaching, where you talk of Carlo Ancelotti in Europe, Jose Mourinho in Europe. You also call Peso Musimani, who has won Africa 3 Champions League with 2 different clubs. He won with Mamelodi Sundowns in 2016, so won 2 CAF Champions League with AIHLY, defeating the likes of Kaiser Chiefs last football season. So WYDAD has always been a tone of the flesh to AIHLY, so reasons why it had to be difficult for them to actually win out there in Morocco. Remember that AIHLY won the La Decima, their 10th crown against Kaiser Chiefs in that same Mohamed VI Stadium in Morocco. So you understand that it is all about the football being played on the pitch, and WYDAD was a better team. But good news to AIHLY, they've been consistent, and it took them, I think, 38 million euros to invest as far as winning their
that particular beautiful title is concerned. All right, let's also get to hear a little bit. How would Mr. Lawrence, the publisher for My Soccer 24, react to WYDAD's success, mindful of the fact that AIHLY were looking to clinch a 3rd title consecutively? Remember that they did so after beating Zamalek and also Kaiser Chiefs. But let's look at his reaction and also get to find out from him what would be your reaction to the fact that Cameroonian clubs are in the shadows as far as that is concerned.
Well, when you look at the finals of the Champions League, I think I was lucky to be one of those who commented these finals on the national sports channels here, TV Sports and Entertainment. And you look at the budget of both clubs, it speaks volume. AIHLY, it's a club of, this year they were at $137 million as budget. WYDAD Athletic Club of Casablanca, they were at a budget of $16 million. I mean, you would find that nowhere in Cameroon or besides even Central Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa. It's business. That is why you find these two clubs in the finals of the competition. But I had earlier tipped AIHLY as favorites of these finals. But the fact that the final initially scheduled to be played at Tangier was brought to Casablanca, and AIHLY had to protest and went right up to the Court of Arbitration of Sports. You see that we Africans would really love the Court of Arbitration of Sports. Every scratch on the body, we are already at the Court of Arbitration of Sports. But the Court of Arbitration of Sports turned them down, and they had to play this final in the heart of Casablanca, which is a stronghold of WYDAD Athletic of Casablanca. That's the Mohammed V Stadium, 52,000 seater. We had 47,000 fans from WYDAD and just 5,000 fans of AIHLY. The entire stadium was red. I mean, that's what we call it finals, and it really based up the image of African football. It's true that when we go into the game itself, AIHLY was really dominant. They have been dominating on the continent. And when at the end of the game they had 62% ball possession, but the goals came from the WYDAD Athletic Club hero, we call El Mutaraj, who scored brace in this game and prevented AIHLY from having a third consecutive win at the of the Champions League. It's equally like that, where we see some so-called smaller clubs come in and win once in a while. That we should not look at the roster and just see AIHLY year after year. So for me, it was a beautiful final, and sent a message to us at the level of Cameroon that if you want to get there, it's people to invest into football, and invest into football business. He said earlier, most of our club presidents are granite stars. The CFA cannot run a professional project. We really need to step up. When you look at the Mohammed V Stadium, it was completely red, meaning everybody had a AC on him coming to the stadium and supporting their club. How many clubs do have showrooms in Cameroon? You approach some of the clubs, you ask, where can I buy your jersey? It is maybe in the wallet of the president, or it doesn't even exist. So it's a message to Cameroonians have to work hard, especially to get back in the top 12 classification at the level of CAF. Cameroon is 13 thanks to Proton Sports, but we really need to win games in order for us to the top 12. That's going to permit us position that is going to permit us to put 2 clubs at the Champions League and 2 clubs at the Confederations Club.
Mr. Lawrence Kedede, we extend profound gratitude and thank you very much for such in-depth analysis and, of course, startling revelations and facts you've brought to the fore in today's edition of the program. We are coming towards the end of the program, but first, would like to find out if there be any contribution you'd like to bring to whatever topic we've had so far. Remember, we've talked about Elite One football in the country, with clubs calling on the Lone Football Governing Body to ensure that there is a legal body with clear regulations and stipulations put forward ahead of next football season in Cameroon. And also we've looked at the fact that CAS has promised to give their final verdict come the end of this month. And also we looked with you at the finals of the CAF Champions League. Would you want to react on any particular issue before we kiss you bye-bye from this corner?
Come again, I didn't get the first part of the question, please. Sorry.
Right. We are rapidly rounding off from this end, and we're finding out from you if there be any particular talking point you'd like to add something as we plan to wave you bye-bye from this corner.
Well, I think it's a nice show, especially the fact that it focuses on local football. We need that exposure, and maybe you should add a slot on figures, because the magic of football business and football, we always add figures to whatever we say, and let us try to promote football on the pitch of play instead of talking about football in the offices. I mean, the Elite One Champions League was the Elite One Championship was played today. We should note that we are already at 473 goals scored so far since day one of the championship, and we have an average of 2.12 goals per game in Cameroon. We have already played 223 matches on 288, and we are just about 4 playing days to the end of the championship. Let us put our hands together and promote the championship, bring out the figures, and promote our local heroes. Right. It was a big pleasure being in your midst.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence Kede. You are publisher for My Soccer 24. He was with us there. Thank you very much. Do also have a decent and a restful night in the chief town of the Southwest Region, town of legendary hospitality and excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, and good night to you. Take care, Jemea. There, we would return back. I mean, those words, very powerful words there to tap from the deep reservoir of someone like Mr. Lawrence Kede. Absolutely mind-blowing. Now let's talk a little bit about different talking points. We've seen football in the Southwest region, and you know, we promised our listeners to bring them up to speed with what developments whatsoever there would have been with the journalist that was battered, molested, and beaten up out there at the Mulikom Sports Stadium by the director as well as some law enforcement officers from the Southwest region. We also understood that it was an item that came like a breaking news in the studios of My Media Prime Television that he'd been convoked for questioning. Where are we with this particular issue after we are mindful of the fact that English-speaking sports journalists of the Southwest region also had a meeting in which 7 resolutions were arrived at? Where are we with all of this?
Well, I think normally we are heading towards some reconciliation process, peace to win, apology from the stadium director for committing shorthand acts. So we are. Do
we have an official apology?
No, we are still waiting.
Okay.
It's still pending. So maybe in the days ahead, we're going to get the final feedback on how things have unfolded, whether the stadium director in question really means genuine reconciliation or peace to reign within the stakeholders of our football. So I think we the journalists are out to promote our own. We are talking about today where Kotong is 14 games of beating, scoring close to about 26 goals, conceding 4, keeping close to about 10 clean sheets in a season. It's all about us promoting the club, and it's all about selling the championship. And so if you're talking about Jemea of Catholic University also scoring 18 goals,
we're talking about
the hottest properties in the Southwest region as it stands now. We are talking of Frank Elgibet of Young Option Sports Academy with 11 goals in 10 games. Those are things we are out to our market. We are not out to engage ourselves in violence like what happened at the Mulikom Sports Stadium, where journalists were going to cover an Elite One match between New Star Douala and Bambutu Sombuda. And so we should be talking about, that is what we have been trained to do.
Take a Jemea, very briefly, I think we should also consider the fact that Coach Rigobert Song and his foot soldiers rounded off with preparations today, training, and they would be coming up against local players on the 4th of this month, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
we are looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, that should be on the 4th, which is Saturday. So we expect to see the local players being called. You know, the CHAN qualifiers is around the corner, and we have been paired against Equatorial Guinea. So that is also going to be used as a springboard to preparation for the CHAN qualifiers. And even Cameroon, too, the senior men's squad are also engaged in the AFCON qualifiers for 2023 in Cote d'Ivoire. So they are to play Burundi. Burundi. So, you know, Kenya was eliminated, was suspended because of government intervention in football matters. So it's now left 3 teams as far as our group is concerned. So it is a preparation match for both teams, but it's a gala match where you won't expect any stakes. You just expect the pride and honor maybe to execute a win. Well, like I said, it's a gala match to see how those professionals can rub shoulders with the
and maybe give them that necessary booster.
Maybe give them the moral booster. So it is something which
Right.
I would not find it necessary, but it should be.
We definitely will be coming to the polemics of all of that and more. Ladies and gentlemen, profound gratitude to you all out there who took time out to watch and send in your different contributions, all right? And hopefully, if today's better was not good enough, then next edition's best would be your best. Take a Jemea, thank you very much for traveling from the Southwest region to join us live in today's edition of the program. We are grateful. We wish you a decent journey back to the Southwest.
Well, we are grateful, and we are grateful to Lawrence Kide, one of our masters as far as the football reporting is concerned, sports reporting is concerned. So we thank him so much for his insight. For the first time in this platform, being with him to talk sports, and I really enjoyed his insight. It's perfect, calm, and always straight to the point in terms of his analysis. So we hope to get him again,
we
maybe subsequent, so he can give some insights as far as sports in Cameroon is concerned.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's how we saw it on the program today. Produced by Eli Nolinga, presented by Bishop Rene Issa, with many and more to do. We thank you very much. Do well to have a restful night, you all out there. And as we kiss you bye-bye from this corner, remember one thing. Zekebwelewai.